Hey everyone, welcome to our third and final virtual visit session for the 2025 application cycle. My name is Taryn. I run the admission process here at the Yale School of Art. I also work with students once they get here and are enrolled. And one of the most fun things I do is, along with Anoka Faruqi, our associate dean, we convene the student reps group, which is kind of a small a student government in a way. And today we have student representatives from our 4 programs here to talk to you about their experience applying to the school and what that was like. So before I'm just going to go through a really brief overview of the application process, but before we do that, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. And we also have Lindsay Mancini here, who is running the show from the back end on the tech side, as well as Sarah Cronquist, who's our senior admin in our office, who answers the phone and the emails. So again, I'm Taryn Wolf. I use she, her pronouns, and we're so happy you could be here today. Let's start with graphic design.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura, and I am currently a prelim in graphic design. She, her pronouns, and I come from Bolivia. Very excited to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Izza Alyssa, and I am in my first year of the graphic design program, and I'm from Qatar in Indonesia. Nice to meet you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Hafsa. I am in the painting second year program and I am from Pakistan. I'm excited to meet everyone.
Hi, I'm Bix Archer. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also a second year in painting and I was in New York before coming here, but originally I'm from San Francisco.
Hi everyone, I'm Sok Song. I am a first year painting printmaking student and coming from New York, but originally from South Korea.
Hey everyone, my name is Christopher Postlewaite. I'm a first year in the photography program. I came here, I'm originally from New Jersey, and then came here from my adopted home of Philadelphia, where I lived for 6 years.
I'll go. Hi, everybody. My name is Brenda Barrios. I'm a second year sculpture student. I am from Los Angeles, so I'm currently working on thesis. So my studio is a little chaotic. Sorry about that, but happy to be here.
Thank you, everybody. Just really quickly, if those of you who are here today as visitors have already seen have come to one of the virtual visits, you're going to get some of the information again really briefly, but here we go. I'm just going to give an overview for those who haven't been here. And the Yale School of Art is one of the professional schools within Yale University. There are 13 graduate and professional schools, among them such as art, architecture, divinity, law, medicine, public health, drama, music, the list goes on. The School of Art is the 4th in sort of the order of establishment of those professional schools. We were founded in 1869. We're the first school at Yale to enroll women. Yale enrolls more than 15,000 students and scholars annually, and over 8,000 of those are grad students. But at the School of Art, we have only 125 students enrolled on an annual basis. And I think like something that really sets the program apart from many other places that you could pursue an MFA is being able to study within a studio environment in a large research university with sort of the history and longevity of a school like Yale, as well as the kinds of resources like the collections and museums that we have here, as well as cross-disciplinary labs. This is the Beinecke Rare Books and Manuscripts Archive, which is just adjacent to the Sterling Memorial Library, which is sort of our main library on campus. We have the Haas Art Library right across the street, catty corner from where I am now in Green Hall on Chapel. This is located within the architecture building. And then we have museums like the YCBA, the Yale Center for British Art, and the Yale University Art Gallery, which is one of the oldest collegiate museums of art in the US. This is just, Yale has a very, very large campus. It's stretched across like the downtown New Haven area. The 3 yellow dots on the left side of your screen are showing our 3 main buildings that make up the School of Art, and then their proximity to other areas that I just mentioned across campus. Our buildings are located just here within like a 2-block radius. Chapel Street, this is Green Hall, and in this building we have our administrative offices, our gallery, which is a 3-floor gallery for student exhibition. We also have the pool, which is the crit space for photography program. This is where the panel happens every week. And the atrium, which is the graphic design studio as well, is located within this building. Some of the photo studios are in Green Hall, some are across the way in Edgewood. And this is the atrium where the graphic design students work. This is more of like a desk, like communal space as well here. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, Crown Street is directly behind our building. This is where our painting studios are, as well as our print shop. And then this is our Edgewood complex. The building in the back with the lights on is the building where we have our fabrication shop for wood and metal, as well as studio spaces for sculpture students and some photo students too. And then there's a couple of classrooms in that building as well. So that's just a very quick overview of just so where we are here at Yale. We're really here today to focus on preparing your application for admission in your portfolio. And so for you to have a chance to hear from our students. Just to briefly go over this, the application to the program is online. We require a portfolio of work, 16 to 20 images, a 1-page statement, resume and CV, 3 letters of recommendation from people who know you and can really speak to your potential within the field of your interest. And transcripts of record, this is an unofficial copy at the point in which you apply from the school you did your undergraduate degree in. If you've attended numerous undergrad institutions, you really just need to send the one that shows, when you graduated with your degree. And then if we invite you for an interview, you'll have an opportunity at that time to submit an official transcript. The fee to apply is $100. And we do require a TOEFL or a test of English as a foreign language only from applicants whose native language is not English and who did not attend an English-speaking undergraduate institution. The 2025 cycle deadline is January 8th. That's at midnight, our time here on the East Coast. This is a Wednesday, so mark your calendars. Applying early or in advance of the deadline, if possible, is ideal. We notify you of preliminary selections. That is, if we're inviting you for an interview in early February, and then interviews happen with faculty throughout the middle 2 weeks of February, and then we notify applicants in early March of the final decisions. We usually here at Yale, we admit the number of students for which we have a space in the program. So for this upcoming fall, we'll be admitting 17 students in graphic design, 18 students in painting and printmaking, and 10 each in sculpture and photography. And then we usually make a wait list of anywhere from 5 to 8 people for each program. So we invite 15 to 20% of our applicants to interview with the committee annually. The committee is made up of faculty. People like myself, we facilitate the committees with the faculty. And occasionally they may invite an alumni to be on the committee as well. We extend, as I just mentioned, the number of admission offers is the number of seats we have available in the program. That's for the first round. And let's see. All right. So portfolio prep, we have guidelines for this. Some of the key things are, we really do not want to see composite images. So let me back up. We ask for 16 to 20 images that represent the current direction of your practice and demonstrate the materiality that you're working with. For painting, it's 16. For all the other programs, it is up to 20. And these can be still images or video files, not to exceed 2 minutes a piece. That said, this is part of the challenge, right? Is picking the number of images that fit within that number. We prefer not to see composite images where you're, say, taking, 6 or 8 or 10 images and jamming them into one file in an effort to get more work into the portfolio. That doesn't help. It's very difficult to see the work in that way. Work should be recent. We really would love to see work made within the last 12 to 18 months. At least half the portfolio should be that recent. And this, I think putting together a portfolio isn't so much of showing like, this is what I used to do and now I do this. It's not a retrospective of everything you've made as much as it is to demonstrate what you're really excited about now and what work you might be kind of taking into this experience of being in the grad program. We really like for you to show the surrounding space and the ideal viewing context of the work, whether that's 3D work or 2D work, where you're really showing us like surface area, also the edges of your paintings, or photographs rather than just cropping down inside of those edges. Time-based work should be grouped last. In fact, the system will kind of do this automatically. And this is really important. Any work that you've made either in collaboration with another artist or designer, or, and I know these two things are very different, if you're employing the use of any kind of generative AI tools, we really want you to identify that in the comments section of the portfolio, just for, verifying your own authorship of the work. All right, so without further ado, let's hear from some of our students. I'm going to moderate this conversation. So when you were applying to the program, I'm just curious if some of you can decide like how you approached the edit of your work. Like, how did you feel that you were able to create a cohesive edit for your selection of work? Did you approach it like a series? Did you approach it, like what went into that decision making?
I can start off. I selected, so I'm a multidisciplinary artist. And when I was applying to the graphic design program, I was looking into some of the work that I wanted to explore further here. And so that's how I kind of, I created like a storyline kind of with my portfolio, and with like each work that I showcase was curated based on the intention that I have. So like, I think stylistic intention.
I think with my portfolio, I was more focused on showing my process and my journey into achieving the last image, the last painting that I put in my portfolio. So it was more journey and process based, and that's what I focused on.
I think for me, I had like some work that was like really specifically like one body of paintings. And so it was important for me to like include work that was like one body, but then also things that I had like been doing more recently and was still sort of like working through and figuring out. So having both those things where it was like, here's one type of work that was like really researched and based in specific things, and then here's other work that's ongoing.
I think for me, just for prelims, or for anyone applying to as a prelim, you might be coming from a very different background to graphic design. So the way I approached my portfolio was more of like a body of work, try to keep it, the majority of it as a series to show what I've been doing, but then also include things that I would like to intersect from that other, art that I was making into graphic design, and how that led me into wanting to study graphic design.
Yeah, for me, I had like one photograph in my application that was made kind of within the 3-year span, but like the majority of the photographs that I included were all pretty much made within the year that I was applying. So I used this kind of older image to sort of like set the tone for the rest of the pictures, and then I kind of built like the edit that I applied with around that.
Thanks all so much. So one of the things I did in preparation for this meeting is I went and this was Sarah's idea. Thank you, Sarah, from my office. I went back and read your statements, all of you. And I did pick up on something very, very interesting, which was most of you, with the majority of, I mean, with the exception of two, like the statement was structured like, as this is who I am, my work is, my interests are, I'm excited about, and at Yale, like that you all addressed, like you went straight into like, this is what my work is about. Good move. My interests are that I'm exploring in my work, and then kind of what you're up to now, what you're excited about. And then most of you kind of said at Yale, I'm looking to do this, which I think is a great format. And then one or two of you were a little bit more, which was also delightful. And also, in my opinion, like sort of now that I know you all, really speaks to kind of who you are as people. Just more spoke kind of poetically about something about your work or your interests. But where for you do you think, what was the most, I think, challenging part of completing the application? Like where was it for you that the work and the statement, you know, really felt like it was coming together in a way that you felt good about submitting, as an example of your practice and what you hope to do here? Hoped to do.
I'll go first. For me, I mean, like, as I was like making the work for applying, I kind of had a sense of like that direction, and for me, the statement was like kind of the biggest thing for me, because I have like a really hard time with being concise, and you know, you're trying to put all this together in one page. So I had started like the writing portion of the application like in November, like 2 months before applying, and had just like several people read it, people who know me, who know my work really well, just like kind of read it and give their feedback. So I like rewrote my statement probably like 3 or 4 times before I felt like I got it right.
Yeah, I think for me, now that you said that, I'm like, oh my God, you read that. But uh yeah, I'm trying to think because it's been like it's 2023. Yeah, I think I started writing my statement in June, and then I showed it to a couple professors from my undergrad, and I think at the end I ended up changing one sentence at the end that I really felt like it was more like me. But I think going and making people read it multiple times is helpful. And then also with my work, I definitely did as much sculptures. I'm a sculpture student, so I did like, because they asked for 10 pictures, but I did like 15 sculptures, and I narrowed it down to only the 10 that I thought that they were the strongest.
I think it's 20 for the portfolio, but I don't expect you to like remember that going back this
Well,
far.
it's because some of them are kinetic, so you can't submit like I have to send like video. But yeah.
Right. Okay, so you chose to document some of your kinetic works with video.
Yeah.
Which is a great way to do it. Okay, so you'd have like a still image and then a video file that would show, okay, how the works you interacted.
Yeah, my name is Patricia Downey. I use all pronouns. I'm in sculpture, first year, and I'm coming from the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, Minnesota specifically. And so thinking back on my personal statement, I don't know, I appreciate you asking this question, because I think when you have to write to someone else about why you deserve something, it can get really sticky and like sort of humiliating. But I think what made me feel good and grounded through it was just like being totally honest, with myself. And I think that there were things at times that are my goals in life that in some ways conflict with grad school. And I think I was trying to like honor those conflicts as well, and like the nuances of this practice and like these like larger yearnings for art making and like community building that felt as though like they belonged and they fit in there at the end of the day. And completed the statement so that like I could look back at it and maybe not cringe so much because I kept it 100, as they say.
It's hard, I think, this process, some of the questions we get the most in our office or some of the questions we get the most often in our office leading up to the deadline are things like, number one, people trying to say, well, my portfolio is like this or my work's like this, so I'm trying to show it this way. And there's really specific questions about things that we're obviously not seeing, so they're impossible to answer. And so we always try to tell people like part of this is trusting your own judgment about, only you know your practice, you know how to best show your practice and how to document it. And these are guidelines. What we have on our website are guidelines for putting the portfolio together, but ultimately both the portfolio and the statement are an expression of your practice, as true as that can be. And that's what helps us determine the fit for the program and the group and the cohort and everything. Does anyone want to share any words of wisdom about trusting yourself in this process or what that's like? Yeah. What did you maybe wish you had known, or you had had a student tell you when you were putting your application together?
I really like Chris's comment about, like asking the people that knows you to kind of like check back in. I remember when in the process of my application, and also like Cameron, the fact that like, it is such a tricky situation, to kind of like talk about yourself in like a certain light. But I think in this process, like a lot of people tend to become very isolating, trying to focus. But yeah, it's good to kind of like, ask like other people to kind of like who has not seen it, but understands you, for like a better perspective, but also for comfort. I really want you to really just trust yourself in this process. It's all going to feel intimidating and scary, but yeah, it's scary in the beginning for sure.
Yeah, I would just echo like having people lay other eyes on your statement. I like showed my statement to a friend who I like trust and who knows my work, and she was like, dude, you like are completely missing. She was like, you haven't talked about like the perspective in your paintings. You need to address that, because like if someone sees them, you know what's going on with that, but like you can't see it because you're too in it. So I think that like that was really helpful to hear, and I wouldn't have caught it otherwise. So having people to like get that feedback from, but then also ultimately like trusting your gut on it. So like there was definitely some things where I was like, should I include like this or this? And a friend was like, I think you should do this work over that one, but I went the other way, that kind of thing. So kind of the balance between this.
Very good advice about the statement, right? Sometimes we're so in it and looking at it so much that you can't even really see what's there. What about the interview process? Does anyone want to share anything about their experience with the interview? How many of you did your interview and felt confident that you would get in?
I'm happy to. So like the interview, I remember getting the invite for it, and it was like scheduled for 15 minutes, and the interview went exactly 15 minutes. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad. But that's the one thing I would say is like, if it's scheduled for 15, 20 minutes and that's how long it goes, like that's how long it goes. That's how long it's supposed to be. And yeah, at first, like I was like totally freaked out by all of that. But it is that thing where it's just like it's kind of a quick meeting. And yeah, I would just be prepared for that. Like, yeah.
I think with my interview, like I always think about interviews as a place where you can just like talk and get to know the other person who's interviewing you, and just like have a conversation about your work, because that in itself is such a big deal that this panel of great artists looked at your work and they shortlisted you for the interview. So it's always good to think about like, oh, they're interested in your work and this is just a conversation. And Molly and Rochelle interviewed me, and like I really enjoyed my interview. I wasn't sure if I would get in, but like when I was done with my interview, I was just like so happy because the conversation was so great, and like just like thinking about the work and like talking about the work, and then and asking them questions, and like they asking me questions, like that was such a fulfilling process. So I think don't focus about on the fact that you have to impress them, or you have to like, you know, really put your best thing, because you have put your best in your portfolio and you are there already for the interview. So just like keep going with that mindset and just enjoy it. And yeah.
Yeah, for me, sculpture, all the professors are there, so it's like 5 people looking at you, and nobody's like showing any expression, so you're like, okay, what's going on? But one of the things I did do is I practiced with my friends as like they were interviewing me, so that we got on Zoom and I pretended that they were, and then they started asking me questions. So that helped a little bit because like it took the ease of like the scary of the interview, but also the day of the interview, I thought I woke up and I thought I missed my interview. So make sure that you like are on time and know what you're doing, because it's like it's easy to like miss the time.
And you were in LA too, so with
Yeah,
time
yeah,
change, being
yeah.
very aware of that. There's a couple every year that the time change, someone doesn't show up, and it's almost always time change. But we sort that out. That's great.
For the interview, I would say definitely try to prepare some questions that you would like to ask, like something that you really would like to know, because I think it's important to see also, you know, how the professors that are interviewing you reply to your questions. And that's just a really important part of the decision that you also make later.
Right, like when you get your admissions and you have multiple options and you're trying to decide like what's the right place. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Just seconding that, I also practiced with friends, and yeah, like that's okay to rehearse because it's such a short timeline. Like you want to be as like potent as possible, and get through what you have the goal to get through. And yeah, I think that's it. Like being passionate about what you like and knowing that this interview is a time for you to show your passions in a way that perhaps photos or even just writing doesn't get at. It's a great opportunity. And like, it's always nice to be able to synthesize like what it is that you do and are interested in. And I remember talking to someone who went to painting a few years before ahead of my interview, and they were like, you know, if you're going to grad school, like you should be in some sort of crisis, maybe. I don't know, you don't have to agree with that, but there should be an issue that needs solving, that needs schooling in like mentorship and community, and like the tug of war that naturally happens when you're in some kind of a setting where you're dealing with ways of thinking and making and being.
Something that came up in the faculty info session or panel discussion was about like that when you go on the website for Yale, or you go on any grad school website, or you're researching the program and you're looking at work, you know, often you're seeing work that's actually pretty done cooking. Like you're seeing thesis work and you're seeing work that for the most part has almost always gone through a lot of the program before it's sort of showcased there or shown there. And I think something that's a big misconception is just that I think people expect that they have to have work that's ready for a gallery when they apply to this place. And that's not the case at all. We're really looking for work that is ready for just to kind of come in and be completely reconsidered and kind of deconstructed and rethought, right? So like, did any of you have anything that you want to share just about that kind of the transition from like applying, getting accepted to then coming here, and what that experience has been like, the transition of the work? Or anything you want to share about your experience here?
Yeah, I think for me now, getting close to thesis. I feel right now I'm like, but I feel like my work definitely changed a lot here. I think I knew coming to Yale was like, okay, I want the resources, I want to explore more, I want to learn more, I want to like take my art to a different level, if that's the proper word to say. But I think I see it. I'm looking at my portfolio right now. I'm like, wow, I like done some crazy stuff here now. So yeah, I think if you know you want to go to grad school to like explore and like test different things and just do weird things here, this is the place. But if you feel like you want to go to a residency where you already know stuff, then this is not the place.
Yeah, just kind of echoing what Brenda was saying about just like this like chance to like really try different things and experiment. Like just speaking to like the photography program, like we have like every 5 weeks you have a crit and you show new work, and it's a chance to either just like in those 5 weeks like really try things that you haven't considered before, or to maybe build on something that you are sort of working towards. And so that's like one thing for me that like I've really loved is just like kind of freeing myself and not feeling like, oh, I need to be here kind of working on this sort of concrete project right now. Like it is a time for me to sort of like unpack my relationship to the medium and my relationship to my own pictures, and sort of have this chance to think about them differently.
Yeah, I wanna what is it called? I relate to that too. And also considering the fact that, like Yale as a university is not like an art institution necessarily, or like it's not just like I think it's good to understand the space that you're in, and also like the type of expertise that you can have a conversation with. Um, so I'm in graphic design, and I think the idea of graphic design is I think it's very open-ended. And I really got to explore the type of open-endedness in the first semester. So I like, yeah, I hope that you come here with an open mind, but also with, I don't know, this interest to kind of tap into, or like, I don't know, have this like be interested in conversations with like other departments, things like that. Because I think that's how you can make the most out of your time here with all the access.
I think that for me, like now I'm making work for my thesis. I'm in the middle of making work for my thesis. And for me, a lot of my concerns with regards to why painting, why representation, what is the desire to make a certain image and the power of the image, and like developing a vocabulary around my work and thinking about what is decolonization and how does that translate through visual imagery in painting and why through painting. I think that coming here just put me like I was in a lot of uncomfortable position in my studio, constantly like having to deal with different different ideals that I have for my work, and then also thinking about like how I think for the first time coming here that I became aware of the reception of the work. And so just thinking about all of those things and like learning and figuring out those answers, but which are normally not really answers, but just like turn into inquiries about your work further. I think it's a great place for that. And I think one thing that I think sometimes we forget coming to a grad program is that we are students, and we need to be always like, it's not like we have to learn and we have to follow a certain schedule, and we need to do certain electives, and we need to meet certain requirements. So I think those things are something that we need to keep in mind while we come into a grad school. And yeah.
Okay, we are going to open up the Q&A module. Sharing.
I just want to add that for my portfolio, I had like cell phone images, and that's okay as well. As long as they're good and you're able to like see the entire painting. So sometimes like you don't have the best documentation. It's okay. It's understandable.
That's true. I think also with painting, it's just really important that you show the piece you know, hung or wherever it is, and we can see the space around it. When you kind of crop in really tight into the bounds of the image, it's not as helpful for the faculty to be able to really like see and understand the materiality of the work. So, all right, so here's the Q&A. We don't have a ton more time, but okay. Someone asked if anyone has applied twice and what were your lessons from it. I don't actually think so. Many of you have, but that happens every year. We always have people apply more than once. We often have people who were waitlisted the year before apply again. If you're waitlisted, you're, in our minds, you're totally admissible. It's just we don't have enough space for everybody. Okay. So someone also asked, like, how do you go about choosing the order of your work for painting and printmaking? And someone can answer that, although I will say that to some degree, the system that we use does reorder your work based on chronologically based on year, which came up while we were preparing for this. But if anyone wants to answer that about sequencing.
I would say for me, just because I work with photographs, I just wanted to sequence the pictures in a way. I guess the system kind of chronologically sequences things, but since most of my work was made in the same year, I kind of sequenced it in a way that not quite like you would in a book, but maybe just in a way that the images would kind of flow together.
I think kind of similar to what Christopher was saying, like from works that were within the same year. I can't remember exactly now, but I think I sequenced them sort of thinking about them in relationship to one another. So thinking about like, if I'm like working sort of iteratively from one piece to the next, like what are threads that are tying these things and like letting them flow together.
Someone asked if you apply earlier than the deadline, does that mean you have a higher chance of getting in? No. We review everything after the deadline. So, and we don't have exchange programs. We're a graduate program. So we're a full-time residence degree program only. So we don't have like sort of visiting people or exchange program. Also, I didn't go super into this in the beginning of this virtual visit, but the long one, the first one goes into it. The Yale University obviously has an undergraduate school, which is Yale College, and the School of Art teaches a lot of the classes in art and design, almost all of them for Yale College. But so our grad students are often like moving through the buildings with undergrads and art majors and TAing for those classes. But this is a graduate program, you know, like an MFA. Okay, so representative work is just something that Slate, our system, makes you do, which is essentially identifying the image among your portfolio that is kind of like the cover, if you will, of your application. Only painting really pays attention to this because it asks you to reference the representative image in your statement. So if anyone has any thoughts about how they chose that, they're welcome to answer. While I look through the rest of
I think that for me, it was like the way that I chose it was I was thinking about what is it in my practice that I need to focus on and I need to push further. And I made that the representative image because something that needs to be pushed forward, but also is able to like tie together my other works. And for that, I think I chose a very simple emboss zinc print, like and I just had that because that tied up my entire portfolio together, and also it was talking about the concerns that I'm struggling with, and I need mentorship, and I need to push further.
Someone asked specifically, Hafsa, a question: if when you say you included your process, do you mean your actual artistic process or the progression and development from one painting to another?
In the progression and development from one painting to another. And yeah, and when I got to the interview stage and they asked you for a portfolio for images done, that's when I included the actual process of like painting and like also just like how do I begin in the ground of the canvas, what sort of like that was actual process inside the studio, which I put in that portfolio.
Thank you. Also, if you're invited to interview, some of the programs ask for a supplement for additional work to be submitted before the interview, leading up to the interview. And one of those things for painting is like process and ideation and kind of sketches, more. So we ask for that later too, if you don't include that in your portfolio. And so we have a question for the design crew, which is what counts as professional or distinguished? I don't know. I don't quite understand the question totally, but what counts as just professional work, I guess? How did you go about making work that can exist professionally? Should each image be separate project, or how many images can make up a project? I would start just by answering, because I know this came up with the committee the other day. If you have done a publication, Brenda mentioned earlier that to document kinetic pieces, you made a video of showing how the work, moves, and we do see that with publications, like you can kind of flip through the pages of a publication. But what Nancy said, our director, was like, we trust you. If you just want to show a layout or two within the publication, we get the idea. We don't have to see every layout or every page. So it's really kind of part of the challenge is being selective as to what you choose to show of a more sequential artwork. All right, Christopher, were most of your photos in your portfolio from the same series, or were they very different visually from one another?
So they were all part of, to be honest with you, I wasn't even necessarily working on a kind of concrete series, but, and maybe it touches on, there's another question about like what makes a strong portfolio, from someone who's also applying to the photo program. I mean, really like for me, like I looked at kind of about 6 months into 2023, I kind of looked at all the work I had been making and got a sense of like, okay, these are the sorts of things that I'm like interested in. And then I spent like the next like 3 months, like really like working on that. So I guess what I'm saying is like, I sort of put together a portfolio that just like represented kind of my current work direction, even though I didn't necessarily have like a sort of solid, like, this is my project that, and I didn't have all the dots connected even. But I at least wanted to like give a sense of the direction that my work was headed in. Yeah.
Someone asked a question about having major life events in the past few years that prevented them from making a lot of work. And so portfolio may include work from before 3 years ago. Is that okay? And you can explain that in your statement. I mean, I think part of the reason that I know that one of the reasons we ask for more recent work is this is a very full-time program. You are required to come in and really kind of hit the ground running. We have the first years have a group exhibition that goes up in the beginning of November. So I think part of seeing work that's more recent is both that it speaks to what your practice is now, what you're really excited about right now, and what work you would look to be developing once you come into the program, but it also is an indicator of, that you're active in your practice, right? Like I think most everyone that comes to this program are artists and designers who are just like kind of need to make things, or it's part of their life. So just seeing that you have that practice in a regular way. But if obviously you can explain your own personal scenario within the statement briefly in a part that addresses it. Someone said, sorry to go back to the topic. I didn't understand whether or not our portfolio would be approached in the order we chose it to be seen. Okay, so you determine, like, you can go in and put them in order, but when you put in the year, the system will make them oldest to newest. So say you have like 5 things in your portfolio from 2022, but they're sort of peppered throughout the order. Once the portfolio comes through, and I think in your review page, all the 2022 ones will be first. You'll see the chronology within that year, but it will order them by year. So that's kind of a way to, like, I guess, hack that system if you need to, but. And then someone's asking about choosing, let's see, if you have to choose one image per work or installation, or can it be displayed in several angles? You can, if it's sculpture, I think you can show multiple angles. for painting, I would only show like one detail to really show, like one detail of the whole portfolio to really show surface or an element of the work that's otherwise difficult to see. But with painting, you only have 16 images, so I wouldn't use a lot of them on multiple views of the work. And of course, people apply to this program, to these programs with work that is outside of the discipline to which they're applying to. Like, so sometimes we see painting applicants that are making sculpture, or obviously with even with Izza's example, like graphic design and making, you know, submitting photographic work. Lauda had like a lot of, as a prelim, had a lot of work in the portfolio that was 2D, but like with a lot of like embroidery and kind of like hand work and sewing work. So we're very open to different, yeah, like modes of showing your work. It doesn't have to squarely fit within the discipline.
Well, just like one last thing to the question you had asked before, Taryn, about like just what it's been like being here, or like general things. I would say apply if you want to have to and are excited to lead a different life for 2 years also. Like you do have to move across, or you do have to move to go to grad school. And I think like sometimes that can be lost in the whole like going there and you are living a new life in a new place and your practice is changing. If someone asked if it's like broadening or deepening, I would say deepening because Yale is like kind of broken up into these disciplines in the way that other schools aren't necessarily. So, but also this is within a larger research institution where there are really fabulous and amazing classes that you can take. I just took a class in the drama department called Showgirls. That was about the history of the diva, and it was taught by Hilton Als, and it was just really fabulous. I had to write papers, but it was fabulous. And yeah, I don't know, like if your work is site specific, you might be challenged because you're in a new site. And that's just the tea of the situation, and that can be a really exciting thing. And I think you want to be ready for that, the question that being in a new place, specifically in New Haven, Connecticut, poses for your practice.
I do want to just point out too that we are a different school every year based on who's here. Our students make the school as our faculty do, and everybody that's here, but sort of building the cohorts and really thinking about everybody working together when we're doing admission, which I think is one of the most important things we do together all year, is so much a part of it. And yeah, we're really grateful to have this opportunity to have you all as the reps share a bit about what it's been like for you. So if anyone has any last thoughts, we want to respect everyone's time and not go over an hour. So the admission deadline is January 8th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The financial aid deadline is actually on March 1, but that's if you applied on time. Okay, so just as an applicant, get everything in by January 8th, and then you should file your financial aid application by March 1st. If you get admitted to the program, you will get a financial aid package within 2 weeks of your admission letter, but that's only if you completed the application in time. So just try to do that. And Sarah, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi, everyone. And if you have questions, I answer the emails that come in to art.admissions@yale.edu. I do try and get back to everyone as soon as I can, but there's lots of emails that come in. But yeah, if you have specific questions, check out the website first. Try and dig through the portfolio information. And then if something is still unclear, reach out.
Thank you all so much to our incredible students who we just think the world of. You're all so great. And you're all also in the middle of finals right now. So everyone's getting ready for final reviews and they still took the time to be here with us today. So really big round of applause to all of you. You're the best. Good luck with finals. Thank you all for being here. We very much look forward to seeing your applications when they come in January, and everyone have a great rest of your December. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you. We love you,
Lindsay.
Taryn.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I love you guys.
Good luck, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Brenda, do you have something?
No, I was just saying good luck and trust yourself. You know yourself best.
Excellent advice.